Hey guys, Sabrina here, and in today's video I wanted to talk about something called metanoia. So the textbook definition of metanoia is changing one's way of life resulting from penitence or spiritual conversation. All of that really means is to have a very strong change of mind. It just means for you to change your mind, but it's not the basic, oh, I'm just changing my mind here, this is not what I want to do anymore, this is what I want to do. But it's actually a more deeper conviction. You can think of it as like a revelation or some sort of epiphany that you have, and that really stirs you up so much so that it actually makes you change your mind completely about something. And it can be about anything, maybe the types of jobs that you want to do, the way you want to live your life, maybe the relationships with people, your friendships with people, the way that you treat others, just with everything in your life. And what I've come to realize is that metanoia often occurs when we've had a traumatic experience happen to us. It could be a really bad breakup. You may have lost a loved one. You maybe have lost a job. Just something where you've kind of hit rock bottom a little bit, but not in the sense where you start to, soak in your sorrow, where you get all depressed, but something, it's like something where you kind of knock yourself upside the head, and you're like, okay, so where do I go from here? What do I do now? Now it's time for me to actually make some serious changes in my life. It's like a really deep conviction, and that's very important in this life that we're living in, because I've come to the understanding that in this life, there are so many cycles. There are cycles happening in our, family, cycles happening in our mindsets and our jobs, the way we raise our children. There are cycles happening, just in everyday things that we do. And it is very important for us to continue to break certain cycles off of us, because we don't want to continue to be stuck in the same patterns and the same routines without any productivity. So that's why metanoia is very, very crucial, because it's not something that you have every day. It's not just a thought or something that you can just turn on or off. It's actually something that, just kind of happens. You just go through something so deep and you reminisce. The way that I like to think about it is you just reminisce on a horrible time that you had and the horrible feelings and emotions that it brought you, that you're like, I refuse to let myself go there again. I refuse to let myself feel that all over again. And an easy way to kind of think about it is when someone has gone to jail. And we hear stories like this all the time about when people go to jail, they get arrested, and then they get released, then they end up back in jail numerous times. So you ask yourself, why? What is the problem? Hasn't the person learned the lesson the first time? And it's not that easy, because they would love to do better, I'm sure. They would love to change. They would love to not end up back in jail. But they haven't really had that convicting moment with themselves to be like, okay, you know what? This has to change. This stops now. And that's really all that metanoia really is when certain things don't attract you or don't faze you anymore. For instance, if you used to be attracted to certain people that were no good for you, the same types of people, the same types of friendships, the same type of relationships, and after a while, once you've had that real convicted moment with yourself where you're like, you know what, this is distasteful to me at this point, then you no longer get the butterflies. You no longer get the tingly feelings for that person or those types of people. The baddest woman and the hottest guy can walk through the door and you won't even be fazed, because you've changed your mind. You've set your mind on such a convicting mode that it's not swayed by emotions. It's not swayed by however way you feel, because feelings are very, very deceiving. That is why it is very important for us to control our emotions, for us to not just do things based on how we feel, because you can never fully depend on the way that you feel. So that being said, in order for us to break these cycles, in order for us to have these moments of revelation, we have to understand what it is that we want and what we don't want, who we want to become and who we don't want to become. And the first step into getting there is actually knowing who you don't want to become. Sounds kind of backwards, right? But you actually have to work backwards in that sense, because it's kind of like in school when, we were taking tests or just, any type of work assignments, and you have these multiple choice answers, and then you have to do the process of elimination when you don't know exactly the answer. So of course you cross out all of the things that you know for sure are not the answer to that question or don't make sense. But then what about those few that you're left with that you're like, what, could this be it? So you start trying to fit it into the circumstance into the problem, into the question, and you start asking yourself questions like, okay, could this be right? Well, this kind of makes sense, or if this is right and this is right. So that's exactly what we do in life. We have to start, first of all, there's certain things that are just non-negotiable for us. We see certain things in life, whether in our jobs, whether in the way that we want to be treated, whether in how we want to end up, and the way we raise our children. And we're like, this is a non-negotiable. Okay, cross that out. I don't need this. I don't need that. This is not happening. I don't want that. But what about when it comes down to those few things that you're left with that seem kind of similar, that seem like they might work, they might not work? Well, this one has a point. We need to stop trying to always make sense of the things that just are plain wrong. If you know that something is not going to bring you joy, something's not going to bring you positivity, something's not going to bring you productivity, then don't even think about it enough to start making excuses for it, if that makes any sense. Because a lot of times we'll have the answer in our head, or we'll know that something doesn't belong, as close or as similar as it may be to the other things that do belong, but then we start coming up with these different excuses in our minds to try to let it fit in. Well, this one is that, or that one's that, or well, this person is kind of nice. But we cannot do that. We cannot allow ourselves to fall into these same systems, because what we do is we set ourselves up to fall into cycles and cycles. And one thing to really keep in mind and really remember is that a lot of the struggles that we face, they do not always show their face in the same exact way every time. So let's say you broke this cycle, yesterday of doing something, but then it comes again in another form. You have to be very, very vigilant and really have an open mind to understand that, not to let yourself fall into the same patterns over and over again. And that's something that's always been a struggle for all of us, because there are a lot of things that we don't ask for. There are a lot of things that, we, came into our families, to our bloodlines, and we can't really, we don't have all the answers. But it is really just up to us to know that the one answer that we do have is to cut it off, is to make a decision, So metanoia is very, very, very crucial in our lives, because it is that state where we're like, I'm no longer going to do this, or this is what I'm doing from now on. I've made a decision, and nothing can phase whatever decision it is that you just made. I hope that this video helped you guys in some way, and I hope that it helps you to reflect on some of the things that maybe you've been letting slide, certain things that you've been making excuses for in your life. I hope that it opened your eyes in some way, as it did with me, because it's a struggle, it's a battle constantly. And just because you've made it past it, just because you've won it this time, doesn't mean that it will not show up again, and you just have to keep fighting and keep fighting and keep fighting. So please comment below, let me know how you feel about any of the things that I said. If you have any questions, any concerns, or need deeper explanations, just let me know, and I'm here. Again, my name is Sabrina. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Thank you.